The city just invested $900,000 of ARPA money into the Old City Revitalization Project. What do you envision that part of the city to look like, and why is it important enough for the city to make that kind of investment?
Well, I think first, just thanking Cumming College and Pine Ridge for their work on this project. It's roughly $20 million-ish project, and then 900,000 or so from the city, 900,000 or so from the county, and then around the same amount from the state potentially. And so I think just with Cumming taking the lead and then working with the city and Pine Ridge, obviously, in an area, Old City of Williamsport, that was just stagnant for a number of years. An investment of this nature really, it starts to make it vibrant again, and you start to feel the excitement around Old City, and I think we're starting to see that with this development, with the Craft Gateway Center that Cumming College did, with the new music building that Cumming College did. You have John Ryan Brewery, you have DeSalvo's block, and of course DeSalvo's got the State RATB grant, and they're doing some upgrades there. The city is going to do some streetscaping, and now you have that whole area. Woodrich is there as well. I mean, there's just a number of businesses, commercial, residential things happening in that area that's just really going to bring it, back to life again. So I'm very much looking forward to it. Of course, what Mr. Mahansky's doing with Basin Street Plaza as well, and that's going to sort of be the entrance there into Old City. And I think you're really going to see, and we've already started to see that area really just start to pick up and become, like I said, a vibrant area of town again. I'm very much looking forward to the Pine Ridge, this development. It's going to be a mixed-use development, commercial and then residential with a rooftop recreation. It's 3 phases. And sort of, with the rooftop type feel that this area doesn't see too often, and really we don't have anything like that in the city of Williamsport per se. So, I'm excited about it, and then I was talking to some of the Cumming College, both the faculty, staff, and students, and they're looking forward to it as well, as are the citizens of Williamsport. So I think it's going to be vital for that part of town, and as far as just making it an investment in an area where it was needed. And I thank all the rest of them who are investing there too. The ones that I've mentioned, and and some all of the others that are also investing in that neighborhood and all through Williamsport. There's really good momentum right now around this space. We were talking about Old City, but also the west end of town, T. Ross Brothers. That first reading was on City Council's agenda 2 weeks ago. The second reading's this week. And so that's going to be, again, some ARPA dollars for water and sewer infrastructure for 10 2-unit townhomes, so 20 townhomes on the west end of town up by the high school. And so again, investment in new housing. I've been hearing it since my days on City Council, and of course now as mayor, that Williamsport's in dire need of new housing. Our housing stock is antiquated, so between what's happening over here in Old City, what T. Ross Brothers, what they're doing up there, and also the old Children's Discovery Workshop, that's been sort of just sitting there now for a number of years, and that's finally we were able to get that moving forward as well. And so now that's going to be apartments, and so we're getting some housing that's needed for our area for the workforce, and obviously we have a number of new business and industries, some that have been here, but they're all the labor market. We're all aware right now everyone's trying to attract employees and they need places to live. So I'm glad that we're able to add some new housing options here in the city of Williamsport to retain and also attract employees and just families and folks that want to live, work, and play here in Williamsport.
We were over to Shaw Place Park the other day, and we saw splash pads coming along. What can we look forward to in the way of other city park improvements for next year? Right.
So again, we're fortunate from DCNR. I'm big, my administration, we're big on parks and recreation. Again, the vibrancy of the neighborhood, the vibrancy of our parks and recreation open spaces. And so DCNR, we applied for a grant to update our comprehensive park, recreational, open space plan, because our current comp plan is too old. It's outdated, and so DCNR won't accept it. So we applied for a grant to update it, and at the same time, DCNR said, go ahead and make the improvements that we were already looking to do, which includes, of course, the splash park. We fixed Memorial Pool this year. That was a project that everybody's well aware of. And then we're going to continue, so we got United States Air Force sponsorship, and that's bought 6 new basketball hoops for Memorial Park got 2, Young's Woods got 2, and Shaw got 2. And we have the United States Air Force emblem on the backboard. We're also pending City Council approval. We're going to reconstruct the pickleball courts at Memorial, the basketball courts at Memorial, Young's Woods basketball courts, and then the tennis courts at Shaw, basketball courts at Shaw. So we're going to continue to invest in our parks and recreation. We believe, and I believe wholeheartedly, that not just, obviously it's good for public safety, it's good for the neighborhood, but it's a quality of life improvement. Folks, if they're able to go outdoor and recreate, it's just really improves that the family, the quality of life, the kids, and just everything, our community as a whole. And so we're going to continue to make those investments in our parks and recreation. The DCNR, there's also going to be a public input. So this is going to be a comprehensive plan for all of our parks, recreation, open spaces. So we have to do an RFP process to get a firm in to help us with that. That's part of the DCNR grant process. But then there's going to be a significant public input, of course, process. So we want to hear from what is it that the public wants to see in our parks, in our recreational spaces, in our open spaces. Do you want to see additional, pickleball courts, basketball courts, tennis courts, splash parks, whatever the case might be, walking trails? And so that's what we're going to update that, and then with the goal to be, once our comp plan is updated, DCNR, then you open yourself up for additional grant funding to implement the projects as part of your comp plan. So again, that's just very exciting. But the splash park, to circle back around to that, when we did our rescue plan survey, parks and recreation and public safety were basically 1 and 1A. They were the top 2 things the community cared about. And when we then started to drill down a little bit, and you looked at, okay, within public safety, within recreation, what do folks want? I mean, splash parks, they were very excited. On the east end, where we used to have our pool, of course that closed a number of years ago now, but they wanted something along those lines. And as we all know, municipal pools are very, very expensive. But splash parks are sort of where municipalities are transitioning to, and so we worked with my good friend Mayor Cognetti up in Scranton, who they just did a splash park, and we saw sort of what went well for them and what didn't, and because theirs was basically a 10-year process, and we were able to learn from them and how that went, and obviously see what would work for Williamsport. And so John Sander, our engineer, myself, we came and worked with some of the splash park companies and got what worked for Shaw Park, and we're excited. I think it's around a 3,200 square foot splash park. It's going to be open in the spring, summer next year. No charge. It's the technology nowadays is great. So if it's raining or even if the wind is blowing too hard, it'll shut down, and so it's it's much more cost effective than a municipal pool. But we're just really looking at all of the upgrades, and I should have thanked the Air Force and Master Sergeant Knight Inglesby, who's our local Air Force recruiter. He was the one that spearheaded the Air Force's their sponsorship of our Parks and Recreation as well. And again, you have, unfortunately our parks were let go over the years, but we want to bring them back up and let the kids and the families and all of the folks in our community enjoy our parks and rec and open spaces, and we're looking forward to continue to invest in those and continue to bring and we didn't mention this, but Brandon Park, the 2 baseball fields there, we're working on those. We're also working on the band shell in Brandon. That's going to get the upgrades that's been sitting out there for a while now. And so again, just our park system as a whole is going to see significant upgrades. Lowe's Park, we got a DCNR grant. So really, DCNR, DCD at the state level, they've been very good to us. Lowe's is undergoing right now. We just broke ground a few weeks ago, and they're going to see a new basketball court, new accessible play equipment, new lighting, new pavilion, new concrete work. So Lowe's is going to get an upgrade to the park, and that's separate. That's not rescue plan dollars. That was a DCNR grant, and it's going to start now, and that'll be completed in the spring of 2023, summer of 2023 as well. Again, it's exciting. I think looking at where the parks and rec, where they were when I took over, and now the investment we're making, and people are starting to see, and they're excited. I mean, if you live in that neighborhood, it also helps with property values, to be quite honest. When people are moving into the city or just moving different locations in the city, they ask what are the schools like, what's the neighborhood like, what's public safety, and what are the parks like? I mean, that always is a question. Do we have a neighborhood park where we can go and play, or where our kids can go and play, or can we walk? We also have, on this week's council agenda, we have a paver. And so we want to purchase a paver for our streets and parks, for our public works department. And what that will allow us to do, alleys and things of that nature, but also, for example, since we're speaking about our park system, out in Shaw Park, there's a walking trail that is in dire need of an upgrade. And so it's, if we had an in-house paver, we could do that as well. So it's going to save costs over the long run to the city, and not just paving alleys and streets, but also walkways and trails in our park system. And that'll be another part of the comp plan update too, is walkways, rails, trails. How do we connect in the city and to our parks and recreational spaces, the Riverwalk, and different things. So it's going to be a comprehensive plan. Very much look forward to updating our comprehensive plan, and also listening to the public's input on what they want to see as we move forward with parks, recreational, open space projects.
You mentioned the importance of public safety to the community. Yourself, Chief Snyder, Assistant Chief Bolt have been coordinating efforts with consulting firms seeking money that would assist the police in doing their jobs. What do you all hope will come from the grant money if it is obtained?
So we've been working on a behavioral health, mental health, critical intervention team for a number of years now. Our police and fire are both working to accreditation, and these grants will assist with that. So the behavioral health, mental health, critical intervention team, basically looking at a hybrid team of law enforcement personnel, potentially a social worker, potentially EMT, where if someone is undergoing a mental health or a behavioral health crisis, we're able to deploy this team, this hybrid team out. One, obviously, first and foremost, to make sure the situation is safe, the individual is safe, the public is safe. And then from that point, determine, is it behavioral health, mental health, and then what's the appropriate resources that the individual will need in order to get the necessary treatment for the behavioral mental health. The DA is on board with this. We're just, everyone is working together right now to make sure to get the resources out there in the community. We all know behavioral health, mental health. All of our cities and townships and boroughs, we're all dealing with this across the state and across the country. And how do we get the appropriate resources in our community into the schools? And it boils down to just the treatment, getting the treatment out to folks to help get them back to a productive member of society, and not caught up in this cycle of criminality. Now, of course, if we respond and there's a crime committed, we'll handle that situation, of course, as appropriately. But if behavioral health, mental health, and we get these calls, we're working on a system where we can identify and we can filter out behavioral health, mental health. Do we need to have the critical intervention team respond? And so we're working through that whole process right now. Chief Snyder and Assistant Chief Bolt are doing a great job. We're working with both our state and federal consultants, because there's state money and federal money available, grant money available for these type of response teams. And so we think clearly it's going to be beneficial, not just to our law enforcement, but also to the community, and more importantly, or most importantly, getting folks that have behavioral mental health needs the resources and the treatment that they need.
And our police officers are going to be equipped with body cameras in the near future?
So yes, we ordered radios and body cameras for the police department. The new radios are here, the body cameras are here. And so the body cameras right now are currently being programmed, and we're looking forward to, just as soon as we can, getting the body cameras rolled out, making sure all of our officers are trained, everything is in place, and so hopefully in the not too distant future, our officers will have the body cameras on, and they'll be out on patrol, on a daily basis. So hopefully very soon in the near future, as soon as they're just programmed, as soon as we have everything in place, officers will have those on.
Okay. Switching gears, what is the latest on our levy certification?
So we have good news on the levy. I was in Baltimore last week with Colonel Pinchason from the Army Corps of Engineers. She's the commander of the Baltimore district of the Army Corps of Engineers, which covers Williamsport. And so when I was down there, she signed our risk assessment agreement, and I was able to bring that back with me to Williamsport. We signed it on our end and then sent it back to them. And so what that means is, now that the agreement has been signed by the commander and by us, it's been approved by City Council, we can move forward. The Army Corps of Engineers can move forward with the risk assessment, which is a needed step and a necessary step and a required step to get the levy recertified and accredited. And that should start within the next few weeks. It's about a 12 to 18 month process, give or take, where the Army Corps of Engineers comes up, they do the risk assessment of the levy, and again, simultaneously, we will continue to make the improvements that we know, like the pump stations, we're going to do the electrical, and the other deficiencies we've identified, while the Army Corps of Engineers is conducting the risk assessment, or while they are conducting the risk assessment. And then at the end of that process, we'll regroup and say, okay, the Army Corps of Engineers will say, all right, here's what we've identified, here's what you've already fixed, you're good to be accredited and recertified, or you need to do these few other things here in order. So we don't know, obviously, yet what that risk assessment is going to identify. It may identify additional deficiencies we need to fix, or we may be okay. So, but the folks keep asking about the risk assessment. Why we have to? It's required. If you don't do the risk assessment, you can't get recertified or accredited. So, working very closely with the Army Corps of Engineers, with FEMA, PEMA. I want to thank the county commissioners. They allocated $4 million towards the levy system improvement, so I appreciate them doing that as well. I think the city, I believe we allocated around $3 million when the administration and city council, when we were going through our ARPA allocations. And then thank Congressman Keller for his leadership on the levy as well. He, as part of his congressionally directed spending, I believe asked for $8 million, and that's working its way through committee process and all of that right now. So again, with all of that, the levy is headed in the right direction. Work is finally being completed on it after many, 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 many years of nothing happening, which in turn will lead to the recertification and accreditation, fingers crossed, in the not too distant future. So good news on the levy too, and I'm sure the Army Corps of Engineers will do regular updates as they start the risk assessment, and I'll be able to report that out too as we work through that process. So it's good, and I want to thank Colonel Pinchason. She has been great to work with, and just really with all of the major projects, the Army Corps of Engineers, what they're working on, they really have kept Williamsport sort of at top of mind and at the top of the queue for them to make sure that we progress through this recertification accreditation. So thank you to her and her team in the Baltimore district for allowing our project to get started here rather quickly, all things considered.
Okay. Where are we in the City Hall appraisal process?
So it's wrapping up. And so we should, any day now, the City Hall appraisal and be able to take that to City Council and then start to look at the next steps from there. So he's the gentleman that's working through that, finishing it up, we'll have it, and then we'll look at the next steps related to City Hall. So we're just about there, and then start to talk about the future of City Hall and what that looks like.
Okay. Has there been any decisions as far as permanent homes for your office or the police department, or is that still?
We're still working through that. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're comfortable where we are right now. I mean, we're in here. We did a 5-year lease agreement for this building, and so there's no rush for us to go anywhere. We still have another 4 years left, but we'll take our time. We're not going to rush it. Make sure we're making the right fiscal decision and logistical decision for us and for the police department. We're in talks with RVT, of course. Everyone knows that they transitioned to an authority, and the assets. And we're working through that process right now. And there may be, possibility once we play that out to see, and once that plays out to see, where the police are located and different things, and what that might look like moving forward, as well as where we are. And so, as we work through the City Hall appraisal and the future of City Hall and the assets and transitioning or transferring to the authority, then we'll be able to, make the decision on what makes the most sense location for us to be, and police and everything else. So, again, not rushing it, just going to take our time and make the best decision that we can for the taxpayers and for the city.
Okay. You had some cooking up conversation events in the community through the summer. How were they received, and do you plan to continue events like that?
We do. It was received very well, and so we worked with our city police and local law enforcement, UPMC, YWCA, United Way, and it went well. We just picked different neighborhoods throughout the city. We cooked up some hamburgers and hot dogs and had the cops out there, and just really was building community fellowship, interacting, answering questions, and it went well. Each one had different folks at it, and we did bike giveaways for the kids, and just trying to attract people out to say, listen, here's what the city is doing, here's what we're working with, here's some of our officers, and interacting with them, and just, again, building those bridges, building the lines of communications. You can't do too much of that. And I just, I want to thank our police department, UPMC, like I said, YWCA, Lycoming County United Way. They all were instrumental in making, in all the locations where we held these at as well, for opening up space to us and allow us to take a few hours to get out in the community and make these connections. So we're going to continue to do that as the weather permits. If we can get one more in before winter here, that would be great. I'm not sure if we can or not, and then we'll start it back up again in the spring and summer. We're also going to be starting a program called Pride in the Port, where myself, police, fire, codes, whomever, city departments, community development, will just do some community walks. We'll pop up in a neighborhood, and those that are taking pride in their property, we're going to recognize them. I want to thank Wegmans and Giant. They have sponsored the program with gift cards. And so, if you're taking pride in your property as we're doing a community walk, we're going to recognize you with a gift card, say thank you, but it'll also be two-pronged, because then some of the properties that may need a little TLC will have door hangers or handouts with a QR code with city programs that are available. So our home rehab program or fair, whatever the case might be, so the folks can see, okay, if you need a window replacement or a roof, there may be city programs that you qualify for where we can assist. And so we're going to do that as well in these community walks, because there's a lot of city programs that people aren't aware of that could help with their home rehab And so we want to get that word out to you while we're out doing this. So we're very excited. Again, we're going to try and start that this fall before the weather gets too much colder here. But if we don't have it, if we're not able to get it in place in time, we'll start that up in the spring, summer too. So keeping the cooking up with the conversations with the cops going, as well as Pride in the Port, get that going as well. So we're excited. You can't get out in the community too much. You can never interact too much, and you can never be too transparent. And so that's all things we're trying to do, so that the citizens and the community knows what we're doing. We're building relationships and getting to know the community better, and just keeping those lines of communication open. It's exciting.
Is there anything happening or coming up in the city that I didn't ask you about that you want our readers to know about?
Well, we got the DCD grant too for Basin Street. I know we were talking about Old City, and I didn't mention this, but the Riverwalk connector. So we got a DCD grant for that. We're going right down Basin Street up onto the Riverwalk. We're going to make that connection. So we're looking forward to that, and that's going to get new signaling there around Basin Street, and then pedestrian crossing at the tracks there, the rail train tracks up onto the Riverwalk. And so that's exciting. We've been working on that for a while now too, and we're glad to see, again, our engineer John Sander did a great job with that project. We have a chaplain program, a ride-along program with the police, completely voluntary, non-denominational, and so just if, as a resource, if our patrol would like the chaplain to ride along, we have that in place now. And so it's going well, and the chaplain's doing ride-alongs. And again, not just for our patrol officers, but also for the community. You know, if the chaplain's out and about and the community has questions or concerns, they're able to speak with the chaplain too. And so again, I want to thank Chief Snyder, since Chief Bolt, the chaplain, for that program, and getting him out into the patrol cars and in the community. That's going well. And then I was just at Pennsylvania Municipal League last week, the annual summit, leadership summit out in Pittsburgh. It was a great time connecting with elected, appointed officials all throughout the Commonwealth and vendors, and seeing what resources we can bring back here to Williamsport, and work with my colleagues all throughout the state. And then I just want to thank them as well. I was voted in as second vice president of the Pennsylvania Municipal League. I was legislative co-chair prior. So again, just, the Pennsylvania Municipal League is a great organization, but as far as for Williamsport, it provides us resources around the state where, we can connect and advocate in Harrisburg, advocate in DC for issues that are important to our community, such as infrastructure or public safety, public works, and then bring those, make positive changes for Williamsport. And so I'm excited to continue to work with the Municipal League and with my colleagues around the state to make positive things happen in all of our communities. So we're going to continue that work as well as everything else we're doing. I think that, and I ran on this, I should have, but financial software. So we're almost there. We did a financial strategic plan with DCED that was finished earlier this year. And Molly Steele-Shrimp, our director of HR, and Tracy Rash, who we brought in for finance, myself, reviewing a number of financial software, HR software programs. And we're finally at a place now where we're going to be making a recommendation to City Council and working with DCD, because as part of that strategic planning program, DCD covers a portion of the cost for recommendations that were made during that strategic plan. And so financial software, HR software is a recommendation, so DCD will bear a percentage of the cost of those. So very much looking forward to, obviously, new financial software, new HR software, and that will have a forward-facing component, so the citizens or anyone can see in real time where we stand related to our finances. It'll be on the website. Now, it's going to take a little while for implementation, obviously pending City Council approval and pending approval from DCD, but are very much headed in the right direction and looking forward to that software being rolled out. And City Council as well. I mean, we're of course heading into budget season right now. We've been meeting with finance every 2 weeks, but also on the off week meeting with them right here to discuss budget and going into budget sessions. We have the new software. It'll be every day, ongoing, real time. So we won't need to meet. We'll still need to meet, but we won't have to say, okay, can you run me this report for the next time we meet in a week? They'll have it right there in real time, and they can have it all at their fingertips. And I believe on the council agenda this week is for City Council to order technology, and I don't remember if it's iPads or Chromebooks or whatever, but so that way we're transitioning into, so they'll have everything that they need. We'll have everything on the administrative side, and it's just going to be a much more efficient and streamlined process that we've been talking about for a long time now, even back to my days on City Council. And since I've been mayor, and Tracy is doing a phenomenal job, and Molly as well, with getting everything updated, with finances reconciled, and then Molly getting all of our HR things ready to go. So when the software gets pending council approval in DCD, we're ready to hit the ground running. Payroll too. We're looking to potentially outsource and do payroll software so that we can we don't have to spend time on that in-house anymore either. Just getting us into the 21st century and making our employees much more efficient, and then also being much more transparent to the community related to finances. And it's going to be good for our employees too. They'll finally have an employee portal which we've never had. And again, looking forward to it. And it's going to answer a lot of the questions that folks have been asking over the last couple of years related to finances, and it'll just be right at everyone's fingertips. So hopefully in the not too distant future here, that'll be in front of City Council, and then we can start the implementation process, which will be a little bit of a lengthy process given the capacity of what we're going to be doing.